The only reason that I will share my journey with you is to let you know what is possible. I will share my mistakes. I will share my losses. I will share my failures. I will also, of course, share my wins. But I'm not like trying to sit in the sadness. I am here to tell you that you can have horrible things happen to you and still have a wonderful life. One of the most researched and asked questions is, how do I create a life that I love? And today I'm going to help you answer that question. Hey, I'm Roz Clark, Dream Doula, and I have helped hundreds of entrepreneurs, executives, and creative artists create the life that they love and the lifestyle that they've longed to live. And so in the next 20 or 30 minutes, I'm going to help you do the same. And here's the thing. It doesn't take magic fairy dust. You don't have to be some incredibly anointed, picked, preferred person. You just have to have some very clear tools and tactics. So look, let's get started. The very first thing that you have to do when you want to make a change is own where you are. You know that old saying, you can't get there from here. And if you don't know where here is, you don't know how to get to there. So the first thing you have to ask is, where am I? How did I get here? And how do I feel about where I am? Like when you get that information, then you can figure out, all right, this is where I am. This is where I need to be. How do I bridge the gap between the two? And so right out the gate, I want to give you a tool to help you get started doing exactly that. I created a 12-step transformational workbook that I'm going to give it to you as my gift. You can download it and start asking those questions, start journaling those answers, and start doing some exercises that can help you move in the right direction. So I'm going to help you get clear on where you are, what you want, and how to get there. So that's the first thing. Download the workbook and you can get started on doing that. And in this video, I'm going to give you some deeper dives and more information to help you keep moving in that direction. So the first thing is, when you start doing this work, you got to get really clear on what you can control and what you can't. Because if you don't, the first thing most people do is blame situations, who they are, their upbringing, other people, everything except taking ownership with, okay, the choices that I made got me here. And I hear you, you're like, no, Roz, you don't know what happened to me. You don't know how people did me. You don't know the challenges that I faced. And no, I don't. But this is what I do know. We all have challenges. Effie, we all got pain, dream girls. We all have challenges. Most of us have had some major setbacks or devastating occurrences in our lives. And it is the choice that we make of what we do with that. So when you get clear on what you can control, and then what you can't control, you'll make better decisions much more quickly. And I know for myself, like I stayed in a really difficult situation for over 30 years, and it's like, and I'm like the coach person. I'm the person that helps people transform their lives. And yet part of my gift was part of my challenge because I thought I could fix anything and anybody. And it took me years to get wise enough to understand that you can't change anybody. I can't change anybody. The only person that we can change is ourselves. So as much as we want to help people, support people, lead people in a better direction, if they don't want to go, sweetie, they're not coming. So again, I could have stayed and said, you've ruined my life and you've made things so difficult and why won't you do better, be better, E-I-E-I-O. And no, what I had to say is, sweetie, why don't you make some better choices for yourself? Like, let this go and be okay with letting that go so that you can start moving in the direction of your dreams, the direction of your calling, and start making better choices. And so, one of the first choices that you have to make is choose your state. And I love that language, and I learned it from Tony Robbins. I've been a devotee of his work for quite some time. And he always says, where focus goes, energy flows. And so if you change your state, if you change the way you feel, like if I say, how you doing? Like, how you doing? And you're like, oh, well, whatever. Like that energy, you are carrying that in your body and you're putting it out into the world. So most people, if you start talking to them like that, they'll be like, oh, okay, hope things can turn around for you. See you soon. Because people don't want to be around that energy. And that energy does not serve you. So the first thing when you make a decision like, okay, I'm going to do something different. And like, you don't have to be necessarily as vivacious and vibrant as I am, although I would encourage you to up your vibrational level, because if you stay in your body, if you stay down here, you're not going to make a change. But if you just change that, like this whole changing of your affect, the way that you hold yourself, the way that you carry yourself, the way that you speak, because obviously if you're here, you're speaking like that. If you're here, you are speaking with confidence, you're speaking with determination. And I'm a firm believer that the power of life and death is in our tongue. We can call those things that are not as though they are. We can speak into our life. We can speak things into being. So if I'm like, well, I'd really like to have a little more. No, I know I'm meant for more. I know I'm meant for greater. There's a gift that I have that I want to share. There's something that I care about that I want to change. When you change your state, that's when life starts changing for you. So again, like get that workbook. All of that is in there, and you can start asking those questions, start mapping out your days, start changing your energy so that you start moving in a different way, that you show up in the world with more confidence, more determination, more clarity. And this is the thing, when you start doing that, you also have more compassion for yourself. Because when we talk about owning where we are, sometimes that feels scary. Or sometimes you judge yourself like, well, had I made better choices, or had I, as my one friend says, don't be shoulda all over yourself. I should have done things different. I should have been more this. I should have been less that. No, you did what you did. And let's just look for some lessons in that. Like, let's look for some clarity in that. Let's look for the growth, even though it may not feel like it. Like, what did I know? What do I know that I won't do again? How about that? So we've changed our state. And then after we change our state, the next thing we're going to do is change our story. We're going to tell a better story. Because again, if we're telling the story that we're the victim, that somebody did something to us, that life isn't fair, that I'm so far behind, I'll never get ahead. Like, we tell ourselves those stories, those limiting stories, instead of saying, I've been through so much and I'm still here. I've learned so much. I'm growing and I'm getting clearer every day. So you change your story. Because again, we've all been through challenging things. I have somebody who I'm really close to that, something tragic happened and they were like, I'm never going to be the same. I'm never going to get over it. And like, this shit was like 30 years ago. Like, what? Never? Like 30 years and you still want to stay stuck on what happened? Stuck on something that you can't change? Stuck on something that didn't even happen? I mean, you experienced it, but it wasn't your journey. Your journey was the experience. How you move forward from it, that is your choice. But I've had clients that, like, I won't let it go until they apologize. What if they don't? Like, what if they don't apologize? What if the apology never comes? Like, you're going to stay stuck in anger and resentment and discontent, and all of that stuff's going to start showing up in your body and in your health. Like, some things we just have to let go or reframe the narrative. Like, God, that was awful. And I really would not wish that on anybody else. And yet I'm grateful that I'm still here. Or I'm doing the work to get the support to work through it, to get the language to put around it, to get the tools that I need to do something differently. That's the journey that you start making. That's the direction that you start moving in. That's when you start shifting your energy. So you change your state and you change your story. And now you're working from a different place, because now your story is not that you were a victim. Your story now is, I've learned from this and I am going to do something different. Or I've learned from this and I'm going to share my information with other people. Like, that's the thing. People will pay you for your experiences. Like, I do keynote talks on the things that I've experienced. Even this YouTube station, I talk about what I know. Now, I could tell you, like, some crazy stuff has happened to me in my life, but you're not tuning in here to, like, be my therapist or hear my pain or hear my problems. The only reason that I will share my journey with you is to let you know what is possible. I will share my mistakes. I will share my losses. I will share my failures. I will also, of course, share my wins. But I'm not, like, trying to sit in the sadness. I am here to tell you that you can have horrible things happen to you and still have a wonderful life. You can have made terrible mistakes and still become a wonderful person. You have choices, you have options, and it starts with reframing the narrative, recasting the role that you've been in. So again, if you've been in the role of the victim, cast yourself in the role of the hero. If you've been in the role of the angry one, cast yourself as the person who found joy even in hard times. Like, start making those transitions, those changes, those transformations. And so, in one really good way to be able to change your story is to choose someone or something to serve. It begins to give you a different perspective. It gives you a different sense of motivation, sense of intention, sense of identity, because now you're saying, who can I serve? Who can I support? Who can I celebrate? How can I show up and make a difference? And, like, we're living in times right now that I say all the time, we are going to make a difference one kind deed at a time. One kind word at a time, one intentional move at a time, one piece of content at a time. That is what makes life worth living. So when you're feeling overwhelmed or you're looking at so much negativity, first of all, channel some of that out, close some of that off from your access, and yet just look at it and say, what one thing can I do? And I won't even say what one small thing, because when you drop a pebble into water, the ripple effect goes on and on and on. So your pebble of goodness, your pebble of kindness, your pebble of support does make a difference. It really, really does. And so when you start changing your story, you start changing your state, you begin to choose to serve, choose. And when you choose to serve, the beautiful thing about it is you begin to see yourself in a different light. You say, oh, wait a minute, I have something to offer. And then you can get excited about that. And then when you touch somebody and you see the result, that, oh my gosh, that is the most wonderful thing. Like, that is one of the reasons I do what I do. When I get comments and, people are saying like, Roz, your video came up at just the time that I needed it. I needed to hear this. I needed to be reminded of this. I needed to be encouraged. Like, that encourages me. That encourages me because, just like anybody else, like, I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, I got so much to do, but like, let me get focused and let me get in front of this camera and let me sit down and do the work. Let me sit down and be of service. Let me sit down and share, and then when I get on the stage, it's like, let me stand here and let's go. So start figuring out who you can serve. And then this one, it'll sound so incredibly simple, and yet it is a life changer. If you're saying, I want to create a life that I love, the first thing you have to do is decide that you love your life, not the life that's coming. Like, you love life. You love your life. Decide now, and that will give you the energy, the impetus to move into that, so that you don't wait till it happens. You get that energy. Going back to the state that we talked about, you're in a state that says, I am making a difference. I am doing something different. I am moving in the direction of my dreams. Like, I'm clear where I am. I'm clear that this is not where I want to be. And I am so excited that I'm clear about that, because now I am going to do everything that I can to make that happen. And I love that for me. Like, I love this opportunity for me. I love this information for me. I love to be able to serve. Like, when you get connected to that, you decide to love your life where you are, like in this moment. And like, if you can't think of anything else, but I can blink my eyes, I can take in a breath. Wow, I'm grateful. My heart pumps on its own. If I breathe in, I can exhale out. And I don't have to think about it all the time. My body is smart enough to do that for me. Like, you start just making the decisions that you are going to be grateful and joyful and love your life. And like that situation that I talked about, when I left, I went through 3 months of homelessness. And I had people who were trying to help me find a place. And fortunately, I had people who were, letting me stay with them while I was figuring it out. And then I stayed in a hotel for a while and whatever. And yet, even in the midst of that, like, some of the people who were helping me, they got discouraged, like, well, we're trying, or, I don't know what's going to happen. And I was like, I do. I'm going to find the perfect place. It's going to have a beautiful view. It's going to have like lights. It's going to have a lot of lights and high ceilings. It's going to have a fireplace. And here's the thing, 3 months later, and like, I still had to wait a few more days to have everything, because all my stuff was in storage because I didn't have any place to live. And so I slept on the floor for 3 days in this place that had vaulted ceilings and skylights, and not one, 2 fireplaces. Because even in the midst of not having my own roof over my head, I just had the dogged determination and belief that this was what I was looking for. And when I found that, it was just the most lovely condo in a gated community. Like, it was even more, it was things I didn't even ask for. But like, when I went back to my journal and saw all the things that I believed for, and I was living in it, because I created it and I walked into it. I was loving my life even when my friends were getting discouraged and they were feeling sad or frustrated. Like, and don't get me wrong, that can be a lot to carry. And yet I did not let go of my vision of what I wanted. And I have continued to go on from that. And it does not mean that everything is going to be perfect. And it does not mean that you have to have this toxic positivity, because were there days that I cried? You doggone Skippy. I had days that I cried. I had days that I was angry. I had all of the things. And yet my foundation was built on I love myself enough to do whatever it takes to create the life that I love. And when I talk about who was I in service to, I have an adult son with special needs who is fully and totally dependent on me. And so I loved him enough that my goal was to serve him, to make sure that I could put a special needs trust in place. So look, I'm not teaching you stuff that I read in a book. I'm teaching you what I have lived and learned and seen happen. So you can make this happen for yourself, step by step. You own where you are. You get clear on what you can and cannot control. What you cannot control, you release it and you learn from it and release it. You choose your state. You change your story. Find someone to serve. What's that song? I can't think of it right now. I'll come back to it. But find someone to serve. Anybody, whatever, find whatever the song is. Put it in. If you know the song, put it in the comments. Who's the artist? What song am I trying to remember right now? Put it down in the comments. Find someone to serve, and then decide to love your life through every stage, through every experience. Embrace even the challenges, because the challenges are building muscle and character and the strength to go on and the wisdom to go on, because that's the thing. You don't get wise unless you live through some stuff. You know what I'm saying? So those are the tools and the tactics, so that when you say, I want to create a life that I love, I have just mapped it out for you. And like I said, I've created a 12-step transformational workbook that you can click a link in the description, get it, download it, start working on it. And, and make sure that you let me know, leave me a comment, let me know what your aha moments were. Come back to this video and let me know what the wins were. And 2, you can also let me know what the challenges were. You can be like, girl, I'm working on that loving my life thing, whatever that is. Let me know. This is Conversations with Roz Clark. So I want to communicate with you. I want us to have a conversation. So I welcome your comments. I welcome your feedback. I'm excited to support and serve and celebrate you on this journey. So if you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe, and share this with somebody else who may benefit from it. So again, I want to celebrate you right now. I want to celebrate you for showing up. I want to celebrate you for staying to the end. I want to celebrate you because I know you're going to download that workbook and get started. And I look forward to celebrating you in real time when you leave a comment and I respond back to your comments. So I appreciate this time, this opportunity to serve you. This is what brings me joy. This is who I am and how I show up in the world. And I'm grateful for the opportunity. So I want to remind you, as always, to continue to think big and dream even bigger. I'll see you soon. Be well. Peace.